Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Fig Life. I am your host, Kenny, and tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing one half of the Chick Foley show, Marco, MVP himself. So sit back, crack open a beer, that's much better, and let's get started. Growing up, like who introduced you to wrestling, or like what introduced you to it? Like how did you get started like loving this business that we talk about 24/7?
Oh man, my father, being from the South, grew up born in Mississippi by way of Arkansas. So I was introduced to the Southern wrestling before I was introduced to like the WWF. So the Von Erichs, the Freebirds, Road Warriors, Junkyard Dog, Butch Reed, all those guys I was more familiar with because of my father, because he's from the South and that's what they watched down there. They were with the WWF and what was going on up east. My uncle was also into it. He's east, so he's in the WWF, but he's also into the like the territory wrestling. So that's how I got into like the WWF and all that stuff. But yeah, it's it's been a journey watching wrestling. Just thinking back, as much wrestling as I watched as a kid all the way till now, it's pretty insane. I mean, I'm not the most like super knowledgeable person in wrestling, but I do have a really good memory of what I watched. Like my uncle would take me to like um, in the '80s, early '90s. The WWF used to travel east all the time, so they'd be at the Boston Garden at the time. It's TD Garden now, but at the Boston Garden, they at least like I would say they were there frequently. Maybe every other month they might have been traveling there. So we'd pretty much go to every single show. So I've seen a lot of different wrestlers and Rick Martel, the Rockers, all the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s guys I've seen live, which is pretty insane to think about now. Because you have like everyone watching the network now, and like they're like, oh, I wish I could see that back then. This is pretty cool, like the younger kids. But me being an old guy, I was able to actually see those guys perform and stuff like that. So very fortunate in that sense to grow up in that household where like I said, my father and my uncle would introduce me to this thing that I would come to grow and love essentially.
Yeah. So it's interesting enough that like for you, like a lot of people that I talk to, the first thing that they talk about when they fell in love with wrestling is like WWF.
Yep.
And then you went the complete opposite. You was just like, no, I grew up watching like WCW in the beginning, and
Yep.
then went into WWF. So like when it came time for like when we growing up like Attitude Era style, as we got older, did you lean towards more WCW? Did you stay WCW side, or did you say, you know what, I'm gonna give WWF more of a chance?
No, once I started like watching WWF at the time, I was like full into it. Like I was like I kind of like left WCW and slash NWA by the wayside at that point, just because obviously like Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, I was a huge fan of as well. The Ultimate Warrior, Junkyard Dog, he carried over. Obviously, he went into the WWF at the time too. So like all those guys ended up like moving over, or Vince McMahon obviously took them or poached them from those territories and put them in his organization. So like all those guys that were wrestling in those territories, I just pretty much followed them into the WWF, and that's when I was introduced to Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy, all these different type of characters, and obviously WWF at the time was like larger than life. They are like almost like superheroes. Not that like the mid South guys and those wrestlers weren't. It was just like they were more like kind of like working class guys. Like they were seen as like legit athletes and stuff like that. Where WWF is more like superhero, more like cartoony, if you will, if you want to look at it that way. Like you had this guy called Hulk Hogan that was just like this big brooding guy that was just say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and he's almost like a kind of like a Superman figure, but in real life. So that kind of drew me to that. And obviously, Ultimate Warrior became my favorite, just like the colors and him running down with the tassels and all that stuff, and just the energy that he brought. That really drew me in. So yeah, by that time I was just switched gears and went full WWF and haven't looked back since. Obviously, when the WCW, the Monday Night Wars happened, I was flipping back and forth between the two because you had Hulk Hogan over there, and obviously he turned heel. So that was it. That interests me like crazy because, like I said, I'm almost in my 40s, so like I remember Hulk Hogan as this, like I said, baby face red, white, and blue. I love all the fans. I love the kids and all that stuff. And then he completely switches. So yeah, I was definitely for that ride. But yeah, I'd probably say the Attitude Era was my more of my viewing towards the Monday Night Wars. It was watching Monday Night Raw, then switching over to WCW, not the other way around. Mainly because obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin was the guy that you wanted to see. But no, the WCW definitely had some storylines going on that I was interested in. But no, definitely WWF or WWE was the choice for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I look at like a lot of the stuff that we used to watch when we were younger, as far as like wrestling wise, and then just to see how everything just transitions over.
Yeah,
Like you said, you had Hogan, who was like eat your vitamins and say your prayers type of
yeah,
guy, and then he walks in to WCW and turns heel, and then all of a sudden he's this bad guy who's like riding on a motorcycle, dressed all in black,
yeah,
spray painting stuff,
yep,
and just doing like the complete opposite that like he wanted us to do. And
yeah.
I think that we don't have that now in
No,
wrestling.
definitely not.
It's like we get one guy who's like, you know, I'm happy to be here. I want you to cheer for me, and then we cheer and then we boo him because maybe he just doesn't fit the mold that we're looking for,
Yeah,
you know. And then they get frustrated and then they scrap his whole idea. And then when he finally turns heel, we're kind of just like, well, that's not the heel that we wanted.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. We're never gonna be satisfied when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
to
Yeah,
what they do.
we're never gonna have that old school feeling. I think that's what a lot of people want, is that old school feel, but
Yeah,
they just won't get it like right now.
yeah.
Somebody like Seth Rollins, who he flip flops back and forth, the baby face one year, then he's a heel the next.
You'll never see like a Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, a Rock, a John Cena, any person that like transcends their organization. That's definitely something that you'll probably never see again in your lifetime. Mainly because it's like fans are going to see what the what the what the organization is bringing, not they're not drawn to see a single person essentially. So like when you watch like SmackDown or Raw, you're not. I mean, right now we could say like you're watching SmackDown because you want to see what's going on with Roman Reigns and his storyline and stuff like that. But with Raw, why are you watching Raw? Do you want there's like no like single person that you want to like focus on Raw. There's so many different characters that you have interest in, but not one single person that you're drawn to see. And I think that's where like I think that's what you'll never see again, is that like one person that's like the it person that you want to go see like every single week, that you're interested in, stuff like that. But now it's kind of just like a TV show where it's you're just seeing different storylines and different things happening, and you're kind of invested in all these different characters, not one main character. Because the Attitude Era, you were obviously everyone had storylines and everyone had things going on, but it was
Mhm.
Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
true.
like what you wanted to see. Like you weren't going to see, oh, what's a WWF doing? Casual fans are going, oh, did you see Stone Cold Steve Austin? They couldn't care less like who he was wrestling for. It could have been WCW. They had no clue. They just knew the name Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they were watching Monday Night Raw, not the other way around where you're watching Monday Night Raw and you're seeing that person. So yeah, it's just like it's just a lost cause when it comes to the superstar being bigger than the organization, and it kind of stinks. But I mean, that's how things change, and it's nothing you can really do about it unless you know something
Yeah.
happens where there is that big star that kind of transcends.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Because you look back at the Attitude Era, and I think mostly it was just like the shock value that a lot of us look for, and I think that's what WCW and WWF at the time gave us. It was like who could one up who, you
Yeah,
know.
yep, exactly.
Yeah. So like now, I guess they try to do that now. Especially, I think that's why it's good that we have like AEW here, and they can like maybe push that button a little bit to
Yep,
get them to say like, hey, like maybe we should change this or maybe add a little something. So like and then we have NXT now,
yep,
and that's pushing a little bit of the boundaries too when it comes to certain stuff, because you see a lot of the women mixing it up with the guys. So it's like
exactly.
it gives you that old school feel. So like for me, like Raw, SmackDown, let them do their thing.
Yep,
and have just NXT go up against AEW. The ratings, it's a little off, 1 week here, 1 week there, but I think once they find their footing, as far as like trying to get the fans back,
Yeah.
we'll probably end up just, getting back to how things should be or were, or wherever they're trying to go now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah, definitely.
So what are like action figures you grew up like playing with?
Oh man. Let's see. Definitely LJNs. My first LJN was the Junkyard Dog because that was his favorite wrestler. So that was my favorite wrestler too. But yeah, started off with LJNs. Obviously moves into the Hasbro's. But I've always like just action figures in general. I've always collected. So like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, GI Joe, Transformers, He Man, like all like pretty much anything like in the '80s, early '90s. I was well, I wasn't buying them. Obviously, my parents were because I had no money. I was a child. But yeah, they would pretty much buy me a lot of stuff. I'm the only boy out of the family, so I have two older. Well, I have one younger sister, one older sister. So my mother would always obviously get me whatever I wanted. So I would pretty much get any toy I wanted. So I had a ton of different types of toys, but I think I had more of the not so many wrestling figures. I had a lot more of the like cartoon figures more than wrestling figures. I didn't really get into to collecting wrestling figures until like later in my life when I can actually like kind of buy them myself. Um, so any early ones I had were, like I said, LJN or Hasbro's. Didn't really collect any of the Galoob, WCW, or any one of those. Stayed. I'm not sure if I just stayed away from them. I just didn't purchase them at all. But yeah, I started with the Jax figures. Like I said, when I was like a little bit older, I could get into it more and stuff like that. Stopped for a little bit. I collected Jax all the way up to like the first Elite series. Then I stopped for some reason and like got rid of everything. Don't know why. And then I like you get that itch again. Like years later, I was just like, oh, why the hell did I get rid of all my figures?
Mm-hmm.
Hell, god damn it. So when the Elite started getting a lot better, I was just like, oh, I got to get back in the game again. So started getting back in the game that way. And then obviously with following Chick Foley and stuff like that, that got me obviously way more into it. But yeah, I've always been a collector from little all the way till now, be it figures or even wrestling memorabilia. I've like tons of different things I've collected from different shows that I've been to, different pay-per-views that I traveled to and stuff like that. So I didn't stop collecting. I just stopped collecting figures. I just continued to collect wrestling stuff all the way up until I just stopped that and then restarted again, essentially. So, but I'm still collecting wrestling memorabilia when I can here and there.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that I spoke to, they get into that period in their life where they kind of just like stop either watching wrestling or like collecting for
Yeah,
like whatever reason, or they'll one day look at stuff and they'll say, you know what, I don't want this anymore,
yeah,
and then they'll just get rid of it, and then maybe like a year or two later or a couple of months they'll go and say, why did I get rid of it? And you know what, and it's crazy because I'm one of those people. So I had started collecting like Elites and Jacks and stuff like that. And then one day I was like trying to make room in my house, and I said, you know what, like I'm really not collecting like that. It's becoming a little expensive. Maybe I should just like sell some of it. So I sold a whole bunch of it off. I actually gave a box to a coworker of mine's
wow,
that had like Hall of Fame Elites. Was it Hall of Champions?
oh
I
my
literally
god,
gave him like
jeez.
mint on card figures where I was just like, here, like I don't want them anymore. And then what's crazy was that he says, hey, I'll give you some money for it. And I said, no, don't even worry about it, just take it. Right. So now fast forward where I'm doing like like shows like this where I'm interviewing like other collectors, and I'm collecting a lot more now. He sees it, so he's like he's a subscriber to the show, so he'll hit me up and he'll be like, hey man, if you ever want one day when he started seeing that I was more heavier into it now, he was like,
Yeah,
hey, you know, if you ever want those figures, like I did open them, but if you ever want them back, I'll be glad to give them to you. And I was like, no, I gave them to you. And it's like,
Yeah.
besides, I bought them all over again. So then we just laughed because like, yeah, I spend more money now, you know, rebuying them than what it was when I first had them. But yeah, but it's crazy. But for a lot of people who don't know, you are I would say 1/3, but really you're actually like one half of the Chick Foley show.
Yep,
Which
yep.
you guys have a show? Was it every Friday, or you guys switch back to Thursdays?
So we're doing it Friday. We try to do it on Wednesdays, but
Uh-huh.
you know the we I labeled our children the retribution because there's 5 of them. So I have 3, they have 2. Sometimes they do run-ins on
Mhm.
Wednesday nights, and they kind of disrupt the system a little bit.
Right.
So it happened a few times, and we were just like, you know what, we were doing Thursdays and then releasing it on Friday, but then we moved back to Wednesday because we felt it was easier to do it that way. But then, like I said, Retribution came in and just wreaked havoc on us on our schedule. So we moved back to Thursdays. It's a lot easier to do it on Thursday. So yeah, so we record Thursday night shows, and on Friday. I think he actually posted Seth. He actually posted like after the show, so it's usually at like 12 midnight. Um, I know we promoted like in the morning and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been an interesting like year as far as like being like the host. Actually, just starting off as like a fan listening to the show, and then like sending questions in and stuff like that, and being a guest on the show once, and then later on being added to the show was pretty amazing.
Yeah, because I remember when Phil, when he was on the show before, and then he would go and say like, you know what, we really need an intern to like, you know, come in and do like, you know, corrections or like look up stuff. And I remember because I was driving home and I was just like, oh, that sounds so interesting, you know, just like
Yeah.
everybody else. And he was like, you know, if anybody wants to do it, send in like a resume or whatever. And I was like, a resume. So I remember like I sent him a message and I was like, hey, what exactly? And I remember saying, I was like, hey, what exactly do you need? So he told me what it was. But then me being the type of, I got really lazy, and then and I forgot to like send him whatever it is he told me to send him. And then the thing was, maybe like a week later is when I heard like your voice on the air. He was like, hey, I want to introduce, you know, Marco. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was fast. I was like, okay. But you know what? But the thing about it is, like I was telling a friend of mine, since he was like, well, why didn't you, you know, like, you know, pursue it? I said, I think if I would have pursued it a lot more, and if they would have picked me, it probably wouldn't fit the way it does now. Like we wouldn't be having the forums that we have now. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have this show. I would have been fully committed
Yeah.
to,
Yep.
you know, to Chick Foley.
Yep.
You know, you would have been doing something else or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, but you definitely fit that mold of, you know, having that team dynamic when it comes to like Phil, when Phil was on the show, but with Seth now and with Sheena, like it meshes together very well.
Yeah. I like to think so. It was like I said, like with just like starting off doing the show. Like I was in the same boat as you when I was approached for it. I was just like, oh, I'm not sure if I could do that. Like that seems like it is like a part-time job. Like I think we like mentioned this on the show. Like it's legit like a part-time job. Like I do my day job, and then usually like tonight or probably tomorrow night I'll start getting the notes together for the show, like going back and like seeing what happened on SmackDown, seeing what happened on Raw, and then like going through like any figure news and stuff like that, and like trying to get all that stuff together. And then just trying to like think of like what you're gonna say, like because obviously if you listen to the show this past week, we went off the rails and talked about. If you listen to the show, I won't
Yeah.
bring it up on. This is a family show, so I'm not gonna bring it up. But yeah, so like we'll go off the rails and stuff like that. But it's like I said, it's a good rapport with all 3 of us. Like, she is really cool. Obviously, Seth's really cool. And they like I said, it seems like we're all like we were friends for like 10 years. Like when we're talking to each other, but we've literally never met each other like in person. Like not one of us. We do the show like every week, and we've never met each other like in person. Obviously now it's going to be a lot harder because of what's going on with like COVID and stuff like that. But like it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like we've known each other for years and we live next door to each other, or we're in the same room together, but we're not. Which is I find it amazing. Like my wife listens to the show every week. She's not like super into wrestling, but she was back in the day during the Attitude Era and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So she listens to the show to like get like informed, like to
Right.
like figure out what's going on with like wrestling today and stuff like that, because she doesn't have the time to watch it. She works in a hospital. She's a first responder, that type of job. So like obviously doesn't have that much time. So she looks to like me, which is kind of weird for her her wrestling news. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's just I still find it weird that like people actually listen to me and listen to my words and stuff like that, and just all around the world too. Like we brought it up on the show, is like other countries that listen to the show, which is super mind blowing to me at all. It's like it's crazy. And then when people are like, oh man, I like the MVP, he's awesome. I'm like, what the hell? This is so strange. Like people actually listen to
Yeah.
my dumb thoughts, and they find it entertaining or they hate it. I don't know, but either way, it's still weird to me.
Yeah, I know. Cause like when I started this, um, like I didn't put that much effort into it like I wanted to, because I was like still
Yeah,
in that nervous stage. It was just like, do people want to really sit here and listen to my voice, or like watch like a video and stuff like that, or even go on like on Instagram and like like look at posts and stuff like that. And I
yeah,
remember like talking to Sheena and like Phil and Steph, and and just getting like all these different advice from like from people, as far as just like just got to keep going if this is something that you really want to do.
yeah,
Just go out and do it. And I just kept on going like full steam now. And it's funny because like I do stuff with DJ and Tom for the Running podcast,
yeah,
and I like people now will like send me messages that listen to their show and be like, "Hey, like, oh, you're Kenny from Kenny's Corrections," because they'll plug my Instagram.
yeah,
So then
yeah,
they'll jump on and they'll be like, "Oh, we kind of wonder what you look like because we know what Tom and DJ look like, but we don't know what you look like. So like
yeah,
now we see what. Oh, okay, and like, hey, you guys have anything you guys want to talk? You want to shoot me a message? By all means, do so. But yeah, but you're right. It does feel like a part-time job because it's like
yeah,
I have my regular job that I'm doing, which is tough enough already,
yeah,
and then I'm constantly like reading up on like the news, um, checking out like I was telling Tom, I was like I'll go back like listen to their podcast again, and then start writing stuff out because I know that they're gonna record like I think either Wednesday or Thursday that they'll
yeah,
record, and then I'm sending my stuff to them. But then on top of that, I'm doing stuff for like myself,
yeah,
and like yeah, so it's a hassle. But like I tell them, I was like I'd rather do this than bug my wife 24/7 with like wrestling knowledge that I have
yeah,
for no apparent reason. Like my wife just goes, she's just like, you just remember like random stuff, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't know why, but it's just stays stuck in my head, and then sometimes when I talk, it just it comes out.
yeah. I figured out a way for my like I said, my wife used to watch wrestling back in like the Attitude Era days, but obviously got away from it and stuff like that because it's wasn't her thing at the time. But
Mhm.
the way I got her back into it was she usually with women like you just got to find someone that they find attractive on the on there, and they'll watch it with you. So like
Yeah.
uh for my wife it was Cesaro, which is kind of strange. She loves Cesaro. She liked like his character, like how he presented himself and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, if it takes Cesaro for you to sit here and watch with me, then
Exactly.
you just watch Cesaro if you have to. I don't really care. But she does enjoy the New Day and stuff like that. Like she actually listens to the New Day podcast because I told her to listen to it because she listens to a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. And I was like, besides listening to me, I was like, here's another one you should listen to, which is New Days. And she loves Biggie. She thinks he's like the funniest like dude ever, like that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's still really like a weird thing, like knowing that I'm actually doing a show and I'm actually talking about something that I actually love, like that I don't like. It doesn't seem like a job to me. Like we talk about it being a part time job, but it doesn't seem like it because it's like you're doing something that you've wanted to do like your whole life. Like I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've always wanted to share my thoughts about like wrestling and collecting and stuff like that, but I never had an avenue to do it or never thought of a way to do it. And this the show actually helped me do it. So shout out to, Sheena, Phil, definitely Seth for, bringing me on board and having
Right.
people listen to my, like I said, stupid thoughts and
Oh yeah.
horrible impressions, stuff like that.
One more question, which I always tell people, so I always change it up. The simple fact that somebody that I was interviewing was just like, "Oh yeah, I think I know what your last question is going to be." So now I kind of just change it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
now I give you a top 5 list that you can make. So for you, I want to know, what is your top 5 chicken wings?
Oh my God, top 5 chicken wings.
Yep.
Let me see. You start from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5. Does it
You can
matter?
go 5 to 1, 1 to 5.
All right, so let me see. So 5 would be barbecue because that's like the generic type of wing. Lemon pepper because I do love lemon pepper wings. Teriyaki wings because I do love teriyaki flavored wings. Plain wings because you got to appreciate the plain with dipping it in sauce. You can make it any flavor you want at that point. Number 1, buffalo. Buffalo wings. I love buffalo wings. Those are my always go to. Love buffalo wings, buffalo pizza, buffalo calzone, buffalo anything with buffalo chicken. I'm there for it. So yeah, definitely.
That's great. Well, man, thank you so much for taking this time out to share your story and your love for wrestling and wrestling figures. So where can everybody catch you on social?
Yeah, definitely. So you can catch me at Glorious Gent on IG. That's my personal IG. You catch me on Twitter, same name also, but I also run the Twitter for the Chick Foley Show, and that's at Chick Foley Show is the Twitter. So I just do some hijinks on there. Sheena does it. She has her Chick Foley Instagram that everyone follows. She does her thing, but the Chick Foley Show, it's Twitter, it's no man's land. So kind of do my own thing on that. I'll put some of her stuff on there just so it like kind of runs parallel, but I gotta put a little flavor to it for myself. So yeah, definitely follow me there. It's pretty fun, a lot of interactions and stuff like that too. The Fig community there is great. I know Twitter can get a little crazy sometimes because
Oh yeah.
if you're on Twitter, yeah, definitely. IG is more like the peaceful, like it's more contained. Where Twitter can just get a little out of hand. You say one bad thing, you can go left
exactly.
real quick. I stay on that line. I don't go left or right. I stay right in the middle where I haven't had any problems yet since I have been running the Twitter account. So I've been doing my due diligence in that sense. But no, it's been fun. I just throw stuff out there just to see how people react and stuff like that. And I've been getting good reactions. Like last night, I threw up I wanted the Lawrence Taylor Bam Bam Bigelow 2-pack from Mattel. So hopefully that happens because we got the Roddy Piper and Mr. T.
Oh yeah.
So the next set should be. I mean, it's long overdue. We definitely need that. Bam Bam Bigelow Lawrence Taylor 2-pack to hit sometime. So put that out. That got like the biggest response. Like it's still going. Like there's still people responding to it, tweeting, retweeting it, and liking it. Because
that's good. You gotta tag everybody on that. You really have to keep tagging everybody. Put Lawrence Taylor, freaking Bam, whoever Bam Bam's family members are. Throw that in. Freaking Mattel.
We got Bill McKeon.
Yeah, Bill too. And because for me, I started doing more Twitter once I started doing this, and then it was probably maybe like a week or two ago. I tweeted about the Rock Ultimate Edition, how they gave me the wrong shirt. And then I didn't say anything bad. I just said, hey, man, great job. Like, you had one job to do, and you gave me a messed up shirt. And, Mattel sent me a direct message and was just like, hey, send me a picture of the box. I'm going to refund you back your money. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I was surprised because it was there. I've heard some stories about them. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But like I said, thank you for your time.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll definitely keep on listening every Friday.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. This is awesome. I'll do it again. If you want me on for a second time, I'll jump I'll jump on with you.
Yeah.
With you cause I'm bored. I don't need you keeping open doors. When I see you, call you in the morning. On the speaker, ain't nobody home.